And good morning and welcome to the Olympian Table on this bright and sunny Wednesday morning.
For now. Supposed to be a 30-degree turn tomorrow. That's ridiculous. I don't know what this is the most bipolar weather I've ever seen felt, shall I say, and seen in my entire life. Makes no sense.
Well, get your willy warmers out. That's all I can say.
What are they called?
Willy warmers.
Willy warmers. All righty. There's always something new, I tell you, with Steven. So, how you been, man? Everything good?
Everything's good.
I can't complain either. Had a nice, lovely weekend trip with my bride. Came on back and relaxing, and of course
you got two wives now?
Well, not the one that they don't know about each other.
Okay.
But yeah,
right.
there
That's
it
good.
is.
Keep it that way.
Yeah. Well, the deal, getting back into the office, of course, Monday being a holiday, MLK Day, and which was cool, celebrating that. But then we're just back at the grind, and that's all we can do, man. Feel good, live good, work good. So that's where I am. How about you?
I'm doing good. You know, been a good start to the year. Just a lot of interesting things going on.
How about your Forex? You doing all right today?
Actually, last night was a good night. I made $800 overnight.
1,800?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's hey.
So that was a pretty good night just for sleeping. I just set my numbers, and it just so happened that
just did it all automatically, huh?
It seemed to click. So
well, let me borrow $1,800. I know you got it.
You know, well, believe you me, with all the property taxes that we've got to pay at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's that time of year, man. Property tax time. Commercial and residential. It's that time coming up, and even quarterly income tax kind of stuff is heading up on us too. So
it's sort of off topic a bit. What's your scoop on crypto at the moment?
Man, so I'm in this group, this high alerts trades group, and they're calling it not the Bitcoin, they're calling it with the S word coin. And I think people are kind of
they call it Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly, that coin. Yes. We all know that's where we're going. It is. We know we're going to the crypto. So if you feel like the sky's falling, maybe you're not versed enough. You don't understand it. But this is the time to buy more.
Well, have you heard about Bank of America's looking at adopting Solana?
I remember we talked about it
as their digital currency.
Now, are they testing it, or is it? Like in the U.S., they're already going to be doing it.
They're looking at actually physically implementing. And they're still looking at the possibilities, but that's what they're looking to do.
This is just a hunch of mine, but I'm going to put it out there. And if you hear it, you heard it here first. This whole Facebook metaverse stuff, I think that's going to be a large platform toward pushing it towards this cryptocurrency, being able to spend the digital currency in this meta world or whatever the case is. I think that's going to be a big push that'll kind of get it to where it's going to go eventually.
Yeah, and some of the altcoins, they reckon that some of them are just sort of, junk coins.
Like yours.
But some of them, I mean, are going to make money.
Oh yeah,
big time.
A lot of them will make money. Well, if they'll be around, we don't know.
And then some of the tokens as well, they're going to be worth something. I mean, it's interesting, But at the moment, because I come down, I say to everybody, if you've got any spare dosh, get out there and buy some. You're not going to. I don't think you'd lose on it.
I don't think so.
We're not a financial advisor.
Please no.
This is just my opinion.
Because it's a long game.
It is.
If people are getting in because they want to make a bunch of money tomorrow, don't do it.
Well, and I was watching a YouTube video last night of, Warren Buffett, and he was saying that
money bags.
Yeah, and he was saying about some of the stocks that he's seen over the years that he's turned down, and he didn't buy stocks. And he looks back now and he thinks if he bought them stocks, how much they would have been worth.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time.
And he said that you don't look for the good stocks, the strong stocks. You're looking for the consistent stocks that you know the business that they're in.
Yep.
And you're always looking for the stocks that you feel, will be around in 10 years' time. And I think it's the same with Bitcoin. It's just a different platform.
No, I agree. I agree with you. If you're in it for a short run, I say don't get in at all because it's going to take some time. But if you hold on to that ride and don't let go,
what do you think about
it'll pay off.
The tax laws changing in 2022 with all these apps? It's going to be a bit embarrassing for some people that have been making thousands of dollars over these years, and they've got to report it at the end of 2022.
Yeah. It's
because there's a lot of businesses we use it.
Oh yeah.
We use it for credit apps and different things, but it's going to be pretty embarrassing. They've got to report,
the income.
Cash App, Coinbase, Dell, all the cash apps will have to be reported.
Here's my thing: is that how do you? I don't know how you'll track it.
How do you track it? It's simple. You give them a 1099 at the end of the year.
Well, they're going to make that's what they're going to do. They're going to strong on the companies to pay,
and that's exactly what should happen.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in it. I really am. Even the Bitcoin. I think the brokers that deal the Bitcoin, that at the end of the year.
You don't think it's a bit of an overreach? Where can we escape the taxes?
Why should you escape the taxes?
Because we're paying on everything.
But that's the problem. It's like Jacob over there. How much do you earn a year, roughly, Jacob? Don't you to sort of roughly how much do you?
It ain't that much at the moment.
Okay, so ballpark figure.
Like around 30-ish.
Okay, so you earn about 30-ish.
Yeah.
His tax bill at the end of the year is more than the likes of mine.
Because you have the write-offs.
Right. I can't get a loan to save my life, and he's probably got a better chance of getting a loan. But the truth of the matter is, because I've got the write-offs, there's people out there that are hiding their money, and there's all types of business out there that hide their business. They hide their cash.
Of course.
Do you think that's right?
No. Here's no, it's not right. Hiding it. If you're hiding it to avoid the taxes, no.
But then that's what you're doing with Cash App, and that's what you're doing with all the apps.
No, not exactly. Because if I seen
so report it then.
No. So think about it like this. If you ask me for $20 to buy something, and I don't have $20 cash to give you, but I've got it in my Cash App, and I send it to you, you think you got to pay taxes on that?
No. But
that's what I'm talking about.
But that's
Cash App is used for those transactions as well. So how do you differentiate between?
Well, businesses are using it now. I know one business now that I was talking to 2 days ago. All right, they run their whole business on Cash App.
Well, those are the ones that's why there's a microscope on it now.
And they're a cleaning company.
Oh yeah.
All right, they're a cleaning company, and he said he's crapping his boots at what happens in 2022 because that's how they've been paid all these years.
Because he's not paying the taxes on it.
Precisely.
Well, he's an idiot for doing it that way.
Well. He's my client. Don't say that about my client.
Well, if he keeps the cash.
What I'm saying is I wouldn't run a business that way. I wouldn't. I personally would not. Everything that we do is declared, regardless, whether what it is, it goes into the box. Now, it's going to be more complicated for me since I've been investing in crypto because I do a recurring investment on a daily basis. Only a small amount, so that's a huge amount of money going into to different cryptos and stocks and everything else.
As a business, I don't disagree with you, but as a person to person, James, let me get $100 and I send it to your Cash App. You shouldn't have to pay taxes on that.
No, I don't think you should.
That's where they're going to have the difference.
No, and I agree with that totally. But I do think. That there's individuals, as always, it's the few that ruins it, the majority.
Of course.
And there are people that are making a lot of money on crypto. There's a lot of people that are making money on trading. People that
Some of us
I've
made
spoken to
1,800
them.
last night. Some of us did.
You know,
I
that they've
didn't.
turned around and that's quite honestly what they're doing. And I don't know, I don't go into their business, but I'm thinking, are they honest on the money that they're making? Because on a trade, there's capital gains tax.
Right. And
at the end of the year, you've got to work out what you put into it, what you've made, and then whether it's a plus or a minus.
Yeah, I got my tax statement a couple days ago from my investments and such. I didn't even open it yet, but I know I got to pay.
What are you doing? Trying to guess? You're trying to guess how much you got to pay?
I know I got to pay some because I've made some gains.
You've been watching Warren Buffett because he says just put it away, don't even look at it.
Well, I've got to pay the taxes on it though, but it is what it is. Well, cool. Speaking of taxes, man, and things that are around for a long time, the Supreme Court, they came out with this their decision on blocking your buddy's COVID mandate. Vice President Biden. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, President Biden.
I wonder who he
has been vice president longer than he has been president. So
he did block they did block the COVID mandate for businesses and the laws for what they call a healthcare rule. Now, here's something that was quite curious to me. The Senate, they went before the Senate. I can't remember the lady's name, but she worked for the CDC. And he asked her specifically, are all the CDC employees mandated or vaccinated? And she couldn't answer that question with an affirmative at all. And it just seems to me they're putting out the rule.
Right, and I agree with that.
They should be.
But I thought the mandate that they was discussing was large companies over 100.
It is, but he just happened to ask that question, and I just thought it was just kind of crazy that they're doing the disease control.
I've got a theory on this.
What's your theory?
So you've got a company, ABC Holdings, whatever you want to call it, and they've got 100 employees, and there's no structure for vaccines, or you can't tell people to cover the face or whatever. Okay. Then you have COVID coming. Some people not turn up for it, just like what's happening now in the aircraft industry, and hospitality and everything. Well, then people that work for the company are obviously going to have healthcare costs.
Mm-hmm.
Proportion of them healthcare costs are going to be on the employer. So do you not think the employers should have a say of whether they get vaccinated or not?
No.
Or do you think so the employer and the company are going to be burdened with some of them healthcare costs?
Could be.
And their rates for healthcare are going to go up.
It absolutely could be. I don't agree with any type of mandate of any sort. Period. So not a mandate. I think of a vaccination. I would say. I think if they said if you come in here, you got to take a test every time you come in. By all means, you got to do it. You got to do it. But to mandate someone to get a vaccination, nope. I'm not on board with it.
Well, I'll tell you what I think we should do. If people get vaccinated, should be able to get the healthcare coverage. They don't get a vaccination. They choose
not to.
They should sign a waiver to say on your own. You cover the cost. Because why should the company not have a choice? Why should the employee have a choice?
So let's just say I go out and I catch HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm dealing with my sickness.
Then you got to be careful who you're sleeping with.
You're absolutely right.
Put a cover on it.
Put a cover on it.
Well, it's the same thing with. I said that for a reason. It's the same thing with COVID. Put a cover on it.
But the deal with it is, you start to kind of split which diseases you're going to cover and which ones you're not going to cover. And that's a whole big mess of things.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Are we in a flu epidemic?
During these months, this is the flu time. Yes.
So is it an epidemic? A worldwide flu epidemic at the moment?
I think epidemic wouldn't be the word I would use.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. But I think we are, as far as Omicron goes. In Europe, it's in lockdown.
Well, Europeans, they do things different anyway.
Well, they do. They're a bit more sensible,
yeah,
to be perfectly honest.
Some would say so.
They are. I mean, they sort of care a bit more for one another and not just about the money.
I don't disagree with that.
Over here, it's all about the money, and that's why you've got the corruption, and but it doesn't matter which side. Actually, I found an interesting article. I'll go find it again about the corruption from both sides, from both parts. Money that.
Well, we already agree with the parties suck.
Yeah, but this was just an interesting data. It was just pure data, so I need to go back and find that in my notes somewhere.
I'm going to hold you to it. Don't forget. Write it down.
I understand what you're saying, but I really feel that I think healthcare is a huge problem over here. I think people should have. I think basic healthcare should be provided. In Europe, healthcare is not free, regardless what propaganda they say. I'm paying for my mother to go to residential care in England, and it's costing me $7,500 a month. Put her in residential care. But I do think that there should be basic healthcare included for taxpayers, and that's all I think it should be for. It's people that are registered in the system and going by the books. If you're earning under $23,000, then you're considered a taxpayer, because that's the low limit. But at the same time, I do feel that we're not making the situation better and safer and thinking of our fellow employees. Now, whether we have a vaccination or not, I think that's another question. But I do think that what we should be doing is, if people decide not to have a vaccination, then I think that they should be signing a waiver to say that they're on their own as far as healthcare goes. Especially if they're claiming on the company's healthcare insurance plan.
I can see your argument.
I really do, because you're not really helping people want to keep their costs down as a business. Look, it's hard enough for businesses at the moment.
But what
businesses are struggling.
What if you smoke, though? You're not helping either. Your health is deteriorating.
No, but you're in a pandemic.
If you're a drinker, but see, you're splitting hairs with it, though. If you're
but it's
telling
not a
me
bad
that
idea with what you're saying. If they do smoke, then you know what? Then smoking related industries, they should.
Yeah. Hey, we can't help you.
I mean, at the end of the day, that would make healthcare, more affordable for people, and hopefully make people a bit more responsible.
Well,
I'm all for that. Good idea, James.
We talked before that healthcare just costs so doggone much anyways, period.
Only in America.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Only in America, because it's an industry. Yeah, they don't give a shit about everybody's healthcare.
It costs way too much.
I had an epileptic seizure. I go into the, never been in a hospital when I've had a seizure before in my life. The first time my wife took me, and I come out with a $240,000 hospital bill.
That's ridiculous.
I had no insurance, and I sold a business at the time that I built up over 7 years, and I sold that business to pay that healthcare. And then by the time I paid off the last bill, do you know what the guy said? Why didn't you ever negotiate it down? We would have probably took half of it.
Now you tell me.
On the very final payment, when I paid it off, I thought like I'd won the jackpot, because that was all behind me. Now it was free and clear. I could move forward. That is all screwed up.
It is.
That is all screwed up.
Yeah, it is.
And even when you look at you, and even working out the bills for healthcare, it's so complicated.
It most definitely is. The the frustrating part for me is that even when you get a bill, it'll say, oh, this is not a bill. It'll show you what your coverage is. And then you think you pay something, and a month later you get another bill from some other company that says, oh, this is the part that wasn't paid by your insurance. It's ridiculous. It's frustrating.
You know, and I think that's one of the reasons, to be perfectly honest, why I think Obamacare in principle, I think was a good idea. I think it was called the wrong thing because it just set a lot of people, one, just against it because of the name. I think in principle, Obamacare was a really good idea. But the truth of the matter is, because of the system that's in place at the moment, it was upsetting so many people, and people were starting to lose so much money. This actually happened to me. I called up a doctor, a neurologist in Houston, when I had the seizure back in the year last April. And I said to the doctor, I called up this neurologist that I'd been recommended when I was in hospital.
First time talking to him.
Right.
Okay.
You know, when I was in hospital,
Okay.
Because the neurologist at the hospital, Dr. Lee, does not practice. He's only in the hospital. He doesn't have an outside practice, but they advised me to get a neurologist. So I called him up. So he gave me a list of names. So I called up all these names. This was in, I think, October. I called up, the earliest appointment they had for me was in April. Now, it just so happens that I know a very, very good friend that works in the medical industry. We're not going to say who that is, but he works in the medical industry. And they said, leave it for me. I called up that person, called up that particular doctor. I had an appointment in 10 days.
They can do that.
And when I actually got to see this doctor, I turned around and I said, why is it when I called him, he gave me an appointment in 6 months' time? And when a doctor called me up, when it wasn't a doctor, but it was somebody in the medical industry called me up, then I get him within 10 days as a favor or whatever. And he turned around and said, well, what we do is we keep a number of slots open. But one of the main reasons we do that is because when we're negotiating with the insurance people are basically looking at how long our waiting list is. So what they're saying is, well, we'll pay you, this is what insurance companies do, well, we'll pay you a little bit more for the first consultation if our clients and the people on our plan can move a little bit ahead of everybody else. Now, what happens if somebody has
a more dire need or something? Yeah.
They've got a heart coming down the pipe. And that's, to me, you know, and the other part of what I've told you was, when I first became an epileptic, Dr. Jevons, I still know him because he knows me as the Olympic epileptic. That was his nickname for me. And he turned around to me, and I went back to see him, and I told him what drugs I'm on about 3 years ago. And the cost of the drug over here, the cost of the drug over there was about times 10.
I believe it.
Times 10. And we've got an agent in this office that has Parkinson's disease.
Do we?
Oh, yes, we do. She has severe Parkinson's disease. You haven't seen her for a long time. I'll mention her name later on. Do you know who she is?
I think I know who it is.
African American lady.
Yeah.
Right. So she's got severe Parkinson's disease. She can't afford the medication, but she's lucky enough to have a doctor that cares, and he's giving her sample medications to treat her Parkinson's disease because she has little to no coverage. But she's got she's got a doctor that really cares for somebody, and that really warmed my heart. But he's got to get samples from companies, which means that her medication actually changes every so often.
Yeah. At least he's trying, though. He's trying.
Absolutely, but should a doctor have to do that?
Shouldn't have to. There's a documentary that Michael, what's the big chunky guy? Michael not Michael Meyer. I forgot. It's called Sicko.
Mhm.
And
Is this the film writer guy?
yeah, it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's on Netflix anymore, but at one time it was on Netflix, and it's a documentary about basically this people going to Michael Moore, people going to the doctor and having to get medicine, and the costs here in the States versus, I think he went to Cuba or something to get this medicine.
There's a famous story about somebody in Utah, their healthcare company in Utah for their medicine sent them to Southern California. They then arranged a taxi to drive them over to the Mexican border. They got the medications
for cheaper.
Yeah, for cheaper.
That's essentially what it's about.
Then they drove them back to California, then flew them back to Utah, and the insurance company paid for flight. The insurance company paid for the taxi. They paid for everything.
Now, this documentary is from 2007. So you can, how long ago it's been, and here we are today, still sitting here talking about the same healthcare crisis that we're dealing with. But this wasn't even on the agenda. But of course, this is but it's a part of it, man, because you got, to your point, the Supreme Court's involved in telling people, oh yeah, you can't have the mandate on it for these private companies. But then you got folks that are gonna get sick, and they're gonna be on insurance, and it's gonna cost that company more money.
It is gonna cost the company.
So it's just it's an ongoing cycle.
Look how much the first round of COVID cost companies.
Yeah.
And then of course you've got the bigger cost, which is obviously human life.
Of course, it's irreplaceable.
You know, and it's so interesting because, you know, my mom's in residential care in England, and, you know, the other side of the coin is when I went to England, I was there for 11 days and I had sticks up my nose for 17 days, because every time you go in, you've got to get a test. You know, and then then there was the stuff that the government did, and then you fly through Holland. You know, then you've got to do one there, and you've got to have all the documentation. I mean, it's a pain in the butt, but the truth of the matter is, you do feel a bit safer, and you feel the people.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who lives in Florida was sent me a video, and there's this bar they go to. You order 2 beers in happy hour, get a free bowl of shrimp.
Really?
Yeah. you know who it is. You know who it is. You know, Mr. Millionaire. And anyway, so they go to this bar, and she sent me a photo in this bar. They're all drinking this free, you know, beer. They're paying for 2 beers, and they get a free bowl of shrimp. How many beers they get depends on how big a bowl the shrimp is. So whether you call it a beer fest or a shrimp fest, I don't know.
A little bit of both.
But the truth of the matter is, not one of them in there was, you know, wearing a mask or even entered the place in a mask. And, you know, it's spiking.
Oh, my wife and I, when we went to Miami this weekend, we look like the oddballs, and we're vaccinated, but we still don't take that for granted.
But do you think a lot of it is COVID exhaustion with people?
I think so.
They've got to the point where they're saying, you know what?
I've had enough.
I've had enough of this. Even if it means me ending 6 foot in the ground. You know what?
Well, I don't even know if they take it that far. But I just think some people, unfortunately, still don't think it's real. So they don't even think.
What's the name of that politician? The name of the politician, she took a platform.
Oh, she died.
What was her name? Oh,
I
want you to go. I want to go bring up her link, because I've got something I just want to say about that. What was her name?
I don't know.
But she had a platform. All right, she was a politician. Was she a Republican politician?
Unfortunately.
So she's a Republican politician. She's taking out a platform. All right, basically stating, right? Oh, it's
Kelly Earnby.
All right. So let me ask you a moral question, because this came up on the internet and it was a big discussion. What's her name? Kelly
Earnby.
Earnby. Okay. Well, she's a Republican, so I don't really know her name. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Kelly Earnby. So Kelly
She's a
Earnby's out
human
there.
being, sir.
All right. Well, that's a matter of opinion. So Kelly Earnby's out there. She's got a platform. She's telling people not to get vaccinated. It's not as important as it needs to be. She's got a platform telling people not to get vaccinated. Then she dies of COVID. Then after that, I don't know if you can pull this up on the computer over there.
I'm putting it in the Discord here.
People are tweeting it.
Jacob.
Some people are tweeting and they're saying, "Oh, well, you know, glad she's gone." All right. And then some people are saying, "Wow, this is a moral issue. You know, no matter what, you should always be saying that." And some people are turning around and saying, "Well, no, we just need to tell the truth." And the truth is, you know, it's different for her because she had a platform. She was preaching to people about COVID. What do you think? What do you think to that then?
Well, it's unfair. It's a bit ironic, as they say, and it's unfortunate. I think people don't realize that their words matter, and when you have a platform as large as hers was, and you know, in that area, she was. I don't know that she held a position. I know she was Republican and she was running for a position, but the fact that she died from the very disease that she was telling people not to get vaccinated against, it's kind of telling.
I'm trying to find something online.
It's kind of telling.
And then I'm going to send you a link.
So it's
in your computer, can you put Kelly Earnby tweets?
Yeah, Twitter? I can do that real quick.
and see what comes up, because some of the Twitter comments that came in, you could
from her or about
just
her?
from people in general.
Oh,
It's like, and then there was a big article and discussion online because, well, you know, it's different if it's somebody else. She has a platform that she's telling people not to get the vaccination, you know, not to wear a mask. So, you know, she deserves.
Well, you know, Stephen, they killed her.
Who killed her? The government?
Yes.
Oh, they did. Was that the implant that they put in when they gave?
They killed her.
But
they made an example out of her and killed her because she was such a loud voice.
Is that the new conspiracy?
I don't know, but you know, there's somebody out there that feels that way. Hey, who killed Kelly?
I want to know.
Name?
I want to know what happened to science. You know, science is one of the reasons why it made America great. And I don't think America listens to science. Yeah, look, is there any tweets on there you can go through that was made about Kelly?
December is the last one. That's from her though. You might have to do a hashtag Kelly Earnby to see what we find.
But there was some. It was an interesting debate. And you had some people, you know, going in and saying, "Oh, well, look, my prayers are with you."
Well, of course, I mean, she's
but there were some people that were saying
she deserved what she got.
She got what she deserved.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Because but she's got a platform and she's an influencer.
I get it.
She's an influencer, so
we can't say someone deserves to die.
If they're an influencer and they're saying that basically, it's not science.
Well, I don't know what she said, but I know she died.
All right, let me give you an example. All right. Very good friend of mine. Well, he was a friend of mine, Republican, believe it or not, died of pancreatic cancer.
What's up with you making friends with all these Republicans?
Well, you got to have good conversations somewhere. I like a good argument, I guess. Very good friend of mine. He became a very good friend. He didn't start a very good friend. Born in Kentucky, died of pancreatic cancer. I just want to point out that none of his Republican friends shown up when they needed him, when he was in hospice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But a lot of people used to call him an a-hole. Not one of them shown up to his funeral. Not one of them shown up to his. Not one of them shown up to his memorial service.
That's unfortunate.
So what's the difference with Kelly? Did you manage to find anything?
Not much.
Not really much for tweets.
She really wasn't a huge politician.
Yeah.
She was a deputy DA in Orange County.
She was only 4'8" or something, was she?
Yeah, little girl. She can walk under the table. But it's sad anyways that she was putting that rhetoric out there, and then she died from what she was pushing against. But nevertheless,
unfortunately, she dies. I agree with that. But I mean, if you're honestly pushing it, then you're asking for it.
Here's a tell. Her husband, he says he's still gonna, continue to speak out against mandates. Which again, my feelings about the mandates. I'm not with them, but I know COVID is real, and I'm vaccinated.
If the Supreme Court did this, then my honest attitude is I think the large companies should go to the Supreme Court, put a lawsuit in and say, okay, if they're not vaccinated or they don't take precaution, I'm okay with doing it for everything. The flu and everything else, then your healthcare is not covered.
Well, healthcare workers can be, those mandates are fine. Federal employees, those mandates are fine. They're still waiting a decision for the contractors, but it's the private companies that they block the mandates on.
And part of the thing for me that's disappointing as a small business owner, this is what upsets me. Do you not think I would feel better if I could offer people that work for me health insurance? But all this is doing, because of the COVID, is pushing the rates through the roof.
Oh, yeah. Then you don't want to.
So it's not just a case of affecting the companies that are 100+ employees. Even my agents that work in the company, I'd love to be in a position where, we could get them health insurance. Now, we can through the National Association of Realtors. I mean, they have a health plan. I don't know what it's like. I'm sure some of our agents
it costs, because I pay for my employees as well. So it's a cost for sure, but it's a cost to do business as well. So, but it doesn't make it any easier when you.
But I want to make it as efficient as I can.
I get it.
I want to get the biggest bang for your buck.
I don't disagree, sir. Now this next one we're on, this tennis player. I guess that was yours, huh? Somebody got deported.
No, that was
That was me, actually.
Oh, that was Jacob.
Yeah. I
Okay.
figured it went in well with the mandates and stuff like that, because it's about the other countries and they're mandating it and how that could tie in.
So what happened with this? I mean, I wasn't
So basically, Novak
took it on himself.
Djokovic, yeah, he's one of the best tennis players in the world, obviously. If you follow tennis.
I think he's ranked number 1, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah, he was supposed to be seeded number 1 for this Australian Open.
Yeah. And he's won it like 7 or 8 times, 9 times. Or something.
He has, I think, 20 Grand Slam wins. So he's pretty up there. I think he's tied with the other major guys in that area. But yeah, he apparently came into Australia for the Australian Open. He's not vaccinated at all, I don't think. And he's declared that, and Australia wanted everyone in the competition to be vaccinated, and they have a mandate. But he had an exemption saying, I'm medically exempt from taking the vaccine and stuff like that.
And what was the medical exemption based on?
I don't know. It just says that
I don't think that was ever made clear.
Yeah, he just says that he had
I think the medical exemption was because he caught COVID in like November, December. And they said that his antibodies were in there, so the chance of him catching it again wasn't there. I think that's what he previously caught COVID.
That might have been then, I guess. But yeah, all I know is that he had a technical medical exemption, and Australia with a COVID medical. But the court deciding whether the tournament exemption applies to the country as well. So it's basically saying, I'm exempt from it, and also that I'm a big, huge tennis star. I'm ranked. He was supposed to be seeded number 1 in the tournament. So, and then eventually they got to the courts and everything, and then I think it was found out that he recently had COVID too on top of it, and he didn't go through the proper COVID precautions and the protocol for that. So on top of that, they found out that, and they basically got into the process of reporting him.
Well,
power to the people.
When you go to another country, as they say, when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans. You got to go by their rules, bro. I mean, now it's unfortunate that it got to this point, Whatever your medical exemption is, I don't know. That's your business. But those are rules. These mandates were not just set up last week. I am certain these mandates were probably set up last year sometime, and they let them know, listen, if you're going to play in this tournament,
I would have been so
you got to be vaccinated.
I would have been upset if he would have played in that tournament.
Well, he thought the exemption was going to get him get him past it. Now, tennis isn't a contact sport, we know, but you still in contact with people. I mean,
do you think it's just him? Do you think he gets on the phone and says, "Well, you know, I've got a tournament here in Australia"? He's got a team of people.
Of course.
He has a team of people. He has an agent.
He had lawyers go over there within like the day.
Right,
yeah.
who need to do their job. It's as simple as that.
They thought the exemption was going to work.
Well,
they thought.
I don't think that's the case.
They thought it was going to work.
Well, perhaps they should have looked into it a bit more and been a bit more professional at their job. That's a bit like saying, I'm writing a house on a contract. I'm going to write a contract on a house, and it's going to work. And you and me know that there's little things that happen along the way that can really knock that thing off that railway track. And it's the same with this. I think there's a certain amount of arrogance. I'm so glad that Australia kicked him out. I used to live in Australia. Australia's a wonderful country.
It is a beautiful place.
And, you know, to be perfectly honest, you know, hello to all the Aussies on the channel, if there's any Aussies on the channel, but the truth of the matter is, and I'm a Jim Jeffries, but basically, I'm glad they kicked him out.
Well, Australia has not been playing at all about this vaccine stuff. So I don't know why he thought he was going to get away with that anyways, but hey, that's just me.
He definitely tried, and he appealed to their court as well on top of it, but of course it failed, and like recently this weekend.
I think it shows arrogance, and I don't appreciate arrogance.
And then I think there's supposed to be a French Open here soon, and they declared that you have to be vaccinated, no exemptions, after, I think, the wake of this. So I don't think he's going to get away with it in France either.
And I think it's on different levels. If you're competing on something that really is international, you're traveling from country to country to country. It's like, you know, we've got the Olympics coming up, February the 3rd, Winter Olympics. You know, and then you've got the World Championship, World Figure Skating Championship coming up after that. You've got people coming there from all over the world. You've got spectators coming from all over the world. You know, I just seen the Olympic trials on TV, believe it or not, you know, on cable. Because where I stayed, they had cable. And I watched the US Olympic trials for speed skating and, you know, for figure skating as well. And I've got to tell you, I've never seen so many masks worn in the stadium, and it was sort of reassuring in a way.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same. You know, one of my friends turned around and says, "I'm not wearing a mask because I don't want to feel like a horse."
A what?
With a horse with, you know, the feed bags they wear.
Yes. Come on, man.
But,
wear the mask, follow the rules, stay safe.
Anyway. So
that's another country you definitely want to do that.
Move on to market news, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, James, I want you to sort of put your angle on this, and I actually put it in there for you to just put your angle on this. When the stock market, when the interest rates rise, what's your opinion on how that affects businesses and how it affects the stock market in general?
So first of all, let's talk about the interest rates. When we're talking about the interest rates where the feds come out and they change the Fed rate, quote unquote, we're talking about the money that banks lend to one another overnight and how that yield is, and not directly affected to long-term rates like mortgage rates, right? Of course, when rates go up, things cost more. That's just inevitable. That's just one of the symptoms of the increase. Mm-hmm. And when they go up, people can afford less. But it's just kind of one of those things. It's an inevitable kind of situation. And when we're in a position where we are now, where things are scarce, products are scarce, we don't have these big surpluses like we had before. It's a bit of a pickle because people are so used to things costing a certain amount. And then when they go up, you got the ball to whining and complaining about, oh, this has cost so much, and this, that, blah, 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 like the sky's falling kind of deal. But that's not the case. Stock market, it's volatile. I think it's down today, as a matter of fact.
Can you go to the top of the article? You scroll down. I wanted to go to the top.
Down 16 points now. But the interest rates
go down a little bit and I just at the top of the screen put what happens to the stock market.
The interest rates for mortgage rates, typically they go the opposite. Typically they'll go opposite of the mortgage-backed securities. So if they're
yesterday,
if they're down, they were down big yesterday. Typically interest rates will go up.
Right.
But if they're up, they're the opposite.
Let me just this is what caught my eye when I read this article. With the trading that I've been doing, I've got to be honest, I'm doing a lot of reading around this to find about markets for different countries, because you're trying to find where a currency is weaker, with forex and such like. But it was interesting with this particular article, it says, what happens to the stock market when interest rates rise? And on the first paragraph, what actually says is, with the Federal Reserve now widely expected to jack up interest rates in March, beat the rampant inflation. Do you think that's roughly March is when they're going to put up the rate, in your opinion?
Oh yeah, usually it's in the first quarter is when you end up seeing the increase, and then it will go up again in June.
So let's just look at March for the time being. So the interest rates go up in March. Do you think there's going to be a surge of people, because this is out, that's saying, well, interest rates are going up in March. If we're going to do this, we need to go out there and get our first.
Well, again, we're talking about Fed rates, which people in the media push that onto mortgage rates, but they're not directly connected. So people will hear that interest rates are going up, which long-term interest rates will be going up. So you will probably see a push of people trying to get on the ladder, but they're going to be grossly disappointed because rates are not what they were last March or even last January, so to speak. So it's for the next few months, we got to kind of hold on and see what happens with it, see what the Feds do.
My personal feeling is, as an investor, I think now's the time to buy. I really do, because as soon as they put that interest rate up, against other countries. I really do. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then the other side to this is, a lot of the earnings are down for a lot of the companies. But I think a lot of that is because of employees' expenses going. A lot of companies now are paying a lot more for fees than that's affecting, their profits.
Sure.
So I just thought it was an interesting article, to be perfectly honest. The S&P has been resilient around the start of Fed hiking cycles in the past. Costin knows but one would interpret that resiliency. Costin speaks of in different ways. First is that the stock market didn't fall off a cliff as borrowing conditions became tighter, but losses did come to market lowers. The S&P dropped 6% on average 3 months following the first rate increase of recent cycles. So it's a very uncertain time at the moment in the stock market and the trading, because I trade Nasdaq and I trade S&P 500 and I trade gold as well. And it's I just think it's an interesting time. It's very, very volatile, but if you're on the right end of the volatility, then you're about to make some money. And the GB, the British pound against the US dollar, has shot through the roof.
Well, we'll know next week. That's the first meeting of the year, next Tuesday.
How often do they meet?
Every other month. So they'll meet in January. They'll meet in March. That's roughly how it'll go. They'll meet in January. They'll meet in March. They'll meet in May.
Now it's all down at the moment. Everything's down at the moment. NAS is down. Russell 2000's down.
It's down.
Crude oil's up. Dow's up a little bit. Well, 17%. That's not bad. S&P's up a little. So Bitcoin's down.
It's all down, man. It's all down.
But now's the time to buy.
But guess what is not down? Mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are on the rise.
And that was where I was, I said to you, what effect do you think that will have?
Well, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure we differentiated the Fed rates versus mortgage rates, because Fed rates are short term, mortgage rates are long term. Rates are higher, shall I say. They're still historically low, but they are higher now than they've been.
What's the average rate
in the last, I would say 2 to 3 years or so?
Well, I just want to tell everybody on the channel, the first house I bought in America in 1995 was an 18%.
And you loved it.
I made money on the house.
You bought it and you had no choice.
I made money on the house.
Here's the problem right now. The largest group, you got your millennials buying homes right now. And they've never seen interest rates above 4%. Never.
Crunch.
So now that they're in a market to where rates are going to be above 4%, they feel like, oh man, y'all taking advantage of me, or you're ripping me off, or you blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. That's just what the cost today. That's what it costs today. So that's where we are. I think we're still hovering around the high 3s now, but it's going to get above 4. It will.
I want to make a little topic. I want him to clip this. Say, now we're expecting interest rates to go up, correct?
They will.
So what I want to know is, for the record, and we need to when that rate goes up, we need to review this. When the interest rates go up, are saving account interest rates going to increase?
Well, here's the deal. You're still mixing the two. Those rates are different. Those are your shorter term rates and your mortgage's long term rates. But to answer your question, I still think no.
I don't.
But
I don't think they'll go up at all.
They're indexed completely different. They won't. The savings rates are terrible. Quite frankly, if you have your money in a bank, in a savings account, it's the worst place to have it. And banks are for transactions. Go in, make a deposit, pay a bill, whatever.
I
put your money somewhere else.
My mom, didn't you, with England, right? She's in residential care.
Right.
We sold a house. We pulled the money out. The bank was paying me 0.25%. On,
a quarter.
0.25%. That's a lot of money. So I pulled the money out.
Let's see the rule of 72.
So I basically pulled the money out, put it into properties over here to pay the notes off. So we generated that income. From a tax point of view, I don't know if that's a wise thing to do, but we did it. So that then is funding my mom and then when I pulled the money out, the Bank in England turned around and says, "Why are you pulling the money out? Because you're only paying me 0.25%. Well, perhaps we can stretch it to 1.5.
Yeah.
No,
perhaps.
It's okay. Don't worry. We'll invest it this. We do property management, so, and I still believe in owning properties and investment properties. It's just people don't do it properly. It's like anything. It's like people doing trading. They lose thousands of dollars because they don't follow the rules and they don't understand it. Get a good property manager. Don't just pick them on price, but get a good property manager that manages the property, keeps your value up, keeps it safe for the tenants, and the returns will come in. What's on the agenda next, mate?
Next. Oh shoot, this is what we were closing with, right? So let me pull this article up. I saw a lot of people get all up in arms when this came through. Navient, who is the federal servicer for student loans, it's been several different companies over the years, but they are who have it now. Navient is canceling $1.7 billion in student loans. is what this article mentioned. And on the front end of it, you're like, oh man, that's amazing. That's great.
What's the catch?
Until you see that this is going to impact about 66,000 people. Now, according to my calculations, that's about 15 grand a piece. Jacob, University of North Texas.
Yes, sir.
Would you say that it costs quite more than $15,000 to attend that school per year?
If you're talking just tuition,
all of it, because you got to pay.
If you're just calling tuition, then yes, but with everything included, and especially if you stay on campus, the housing, the food, and all that rest of the stuff, and all the textbooks and stuff, I would say no.
We're paying about 30 grand a year at the moment.
30 grand a year.
With the board, the apartment.
And this is UTSA.
Yeah. Born in St.
Oh,
that's Texas State.
Texas State. Southwest Texas, that's where I went. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is 1.7 billion sounds like a lot, but it's a drop in the bucket.
It is compared, especially when you look at the student debt in whole of how many trillions.
That's my point. So 66,000. I think there's 75,000 kids at A&M. That's one campus.
You know,
Yeah,
I think
not really that much.
my personal view is, I don't know how it would be accounted for. I think that's a higher level of intelligence, if you want to. But I really feel that if somebody goes through college and they don't graduate through college, I don't think they should ever qualify any debt relief of that loan payment.
I disagree.
Because I think that's a motivation for them to complete even if they fail.
I get it.
At least complete it.
I get it. I don't think any relief. I think if you sign on to do it, pay your loan.
Well,
the problem isn't the student.
But I think it would help society in so many levels to forgive that student debt. And I'll tell you why. 6 years ago, I'm at the urologist and the guy's sticking his finger at my butt for prostate. And there's an
Well, what about the doctor? What did he do for you?
Oh,
This is a great transition, by the way.
All right. But there's this intern to the side, and this intern, I thought, looked a little bit on the old side. Just so happened he had the same hairline as me. And I said to the guy, how old are you? I hope you don't mind me asking. I said, but, introduced as, the doctor's intern. I said, well, what are you trying to do? He said, well, I want to be a urologist. Specialise in urology. I said, when did you start this process?
18?
He went to college when he was 18 and did everything. And he said, but urologist is very specialised.
Right. Just like cardiologist.
All right. And he said, well, I said, when are you going to be graduating? He says, I'll be 35 when I graduate, urologist, but I have to do so long doctor. And that's what he was. Now he's on the later stages. He said, I'm going to ask you a question. You don't want to answer. Please feel free not to respond, but I'm just trying to educate myself. I said, how much are your loans for becoming a urologist? Next year I'll make $1
in student loans.
$500,000 he will owe in student loan. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think that pushes up the cost of healthcare?
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, that does. But the student loan piece, the point I was making, it's not the student's problem. It costs too much to go to school. It's ridiculous. For what? Now, he's a urologist, so he's going to make money. He's a specialty doctor.
But he hasn't earned a penny.
I know, but he will.
He hasn't earned a penny till he's 35.
Well, you hope that he lives to make the money, because if he doesn't, that would suck. But nevertheless...
And if he ever has a prostate cancer problem, then that is...
He can't do himself. But the issue is the cost of school. It costs too much. These universities, man, it costs too much to go to school.
Well,
It does.
I want to officially say, for the dumbass that I am, I've got to tell you that, and I'm a college dropout, all right? But when I went to university to do sports and recreational management, and I dropped out because I simply just couldn't focus on that and working for the Olympics and the training and everything else that did. You know what? I felt as if I'd wasted a lot of people's time. And if I had to pay, I did not pay for Loughborough University. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now in England, you have to pay something, but it doesn't cost you nothing like the schools out. Nothing like the schools.
Right.
But at the same time, it was free in my day. I do feel that it helps the economy. And even if they're let off the, and they do so many years for, I don't know, for hospitals, give a bit of time to hospitals, help healthcare and stuff like that. But I don't think you can equate it. But I'm totally agree with you, because I feel that school is too expensive, and I really don't think you should pay for school.
Well, I think there should be some cost in it because you got people working there. But what it costs is ridiculous. I have a customer right now I'm working with. She's a doctor, PhD. She makes less than $40,000 a year, and she has over almost $200,000 in student loan debt. And for what?
So the system doesn't work.
The
system's not working.
You sell this dream. Oh, you go get your bachelor's, go get your master's, go get your PhD. You're gonna make all this money, blah blah blah. Cool, you will if you do it in the right fields, the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. But all the rest of them.
As a film major, I wholly agree with this sentiment.
I mean, it's crazy.
I think you would get higher standards in universities if it wasn't about what you could pay. I think you would get a higher level of production because it would be based on a higher standard of student. They would be more selective by getting rid of this old.
Well, it's definitely going to be about the money's going to be there, but I think, and I haven't done any numbers, but I stretch to say that within the next few years, enrollments may be down because you got so many people getting into the market of like the cryptocurrency. Hold on, let me finish this. The cryptocurrency and the stocks like you're into, and you got these overnight successes, and a lot of kids are thinking that's going to happen. So I don't know, the money thing, it's a piece.
Here's another point that you can clip later on, and it's not on the list. This is another sort of.
Are we taking a turn?
No.
Still in the same.
It's still sort of in the healthcare issue. Okay. You've got these colleges, universities with research departments. And this is one of the problems that I feel that you have with capitalist societies. What I'm going to tell you now does not apply to Europe colleges. So what you've got is you've got people in university environments, and they're there to teach the students. But also there's another arm on the side, which is research. So the people that work in these colleges, they're expected to do their work. Then they're also expected to do a particular level of research. Now, the reason why they want them to do the research is because you've got these big corporations coming in doing research projects. But when you have, and this is part of the problem with the food industry at the moment. So, for example, there was a study done in the 70s on how sugar affects daily life of an American. Mm-hmm. Who do you think it was sponsored by?
The research?
Mm-hmm.
FDA? Who?
A sugar company.
Imperial?
So when they do a research paper on the product, they've got, the people that are doing the research and everything else, but then it has to be disclosed on the second point on the research paper that this research was funded by.
Right.
Now, do you think the people doing the research are really going to say bad things
Of
about
course not.
sugar because it's been
Sponsored by the
a
sugar
particular-
company. No, not at all. Not
And
at
I
all.
think this is part of the problem. You know, I've just gone on this keto diet.
Right.
Okay. And I've never felt so good mentally, physically, because I'm epileptic. I was recommended to go on it. And I've never felt so good, and I've lost a bit of weight, so I'm happy with that. But the truth of the matter is, when you really look at how much sugar there is in stuff,
Right.
what carbohydrates we're taking, what poisons and toxins there are in some of our food, it's just unbelievable. And yet, you know, there are studies that came in, you know, at one time about, you know, saturated and unsaturated
Fats. Yeah.
So I want to know who that was sponsored by.
Yeah.
The research. And that's what's so wrong. It's like I'm really thinking to myself, okay, why are these studies being done? Are these studies being done to push a particular product?
It's money.
Because right, so it cost them $2 million for research to give to a school. But if it's a food company, how much money are they really going to make when they've
Right.
done that and they've pushed a product?
10 times as much.
And then and then the American public living in this freedom society that you elevate that we have. Sorry, I don't think it's as free as people think. But the truth of the matter is, no, you've been shoe sacked. I mean, you've just been led straight up the garden path. I mean, at one time, how many times do people turn around to you and say, "Healthy in the morning, have your cereal"? What would your grandmother say? The healthiest, that was it.
The healthiest meal of the day
Is
is
Breakfast.
or the most important
Most
meal.
important meal of the day
day.
is breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Did
No,
you
that's
eat
not
breakfast
true.
today?
That's not true. No, I eat one meal a day.
I haven't either.
I haven't eaten breakfast.
One meal a
in
day.
years.
And now, even if coffee is done properly, there's more minerals and healthy benefits in drinking coffee.
Speaking of, I got to get some on the way home.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different,
No, I don't disagree with you, man. When the money comes into it,
it just takes it over, and
does.
that's part of the problem I feel with. It's a little bit like me trading. Okay, now I'm a little bit more experienced. I trade with a stop loss, but I feel with the society that we're in a lot of things that go on, there's no stop loss.
right?
So how far can you go? How far can it get out of hand?
No, I'm with you on that.
And that's really what's missing is that little bit of, I mean, like myself as an Olympian, I couldn't have been an Olympian without the dedication. All right. And most of all, not just the dedication, but the discipline
Yeah,
of saying no to things at
that
times.
discipline for sure.
And that's the part that people don't see. They see you
Yeah.
driving a fancy car at the front with the fancy lights and, the chrome plate. Oh, I want to be just like that.
Hey, nah.
And they forget that there's an engine inside it. Then you look around the side of the car and all of a sudden the wheels are falling off.
Right.
But I really think that everybody should have a little side gig. I do think there's a new wave of people coming in. I do feel that I've experienced it since I've been doing the IM Academy thing. I've experienced it. Just a bit of a second income. There's people doing all sorts of things now,
Yeah.
which is sort of good. You got Jacob over there working and, doing cinematography. Who's you working for the weekend?
Oh, I do like a bunch of gig work. So I was at the Berry Center
Berry Center, yeah.
doing a lot of work over there for a charity organization, NCL, and that's like a huge charity organization in the country, and they have like little chapters, and basically like for girls, they started. It's like a mother-daughter thing for well-to-do people, of course,
Right.
that give charity, and they do it middle school up until their senior year in high school, and it's like a growing up thing. It's like them doing service hours, and then at the end they celebrate all the stuff that they did.
Was it through the school, or they were just using the complex?
They were just using it. So
Okay.
yeah, they rent out, of course, the complex for events and stuff, and they
Okay.
sold them on this
And I
idea.
find that so funny. America gives more to charity and to different people all over the world who won't help one another. Whole COVID thing. We give more to charity than anybody else, and we feed the world.
You
And
know
we do
why
always,
though?
and then we don't help Americans. Don't help Americans
Because we want to beat our chest. That we're kind of like the world police of some sort at times, and it really don't matter. We get into other people's business, and we don't take the time, like you said, to talk with one another, even if you have differing opinions. Okay. Now, if we disagree, you hate me. If you don't agree with what I say, you hate me. You don't love me. You don't appreciate me. So now we can't be friends. We can't talk. I'm not going to help you out.
But let me tell you something that I learned through Olympics. As a competitor, if you're beating your chest, never ever underestimate the competition.
You can't.
Oh, you never underestimate.
And so that's the Achilles heel in the American system.
It is.
We're all beating ourselves. We're a patriot, yes. And we've got the biggest navy, and we've got the biggest army. Da, 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 da.
I tell people this all the time. These exact words.
Don't mean shit.
A lion does not have to tell you that he's a lion.
And that's how Russia. That's how Russia is. You know, we didn't talk about Ukraine actually today. That was I don't know if you know. There's been some recent developments in Ukraine with the Russian building up its military on the border.
Let's get some more research on it so I can get up and we can talk about it next week.
And I'll tell you that my opinion is Russia will invade Ukraine. America will do nothing about it. Europe will do nothing about it. All they will do is put economic sanctions and nothing will happen.
So be it. So be it, man.
Because you know the importance of Ukraine Day.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys.
Well, cool, man. I think, definitely a good week, man. We got
and a shout out to Cecilia Rojas.
Cecilia Rojas is killing it. I don't know.
Great agent.
Great agent. Great agent. Really cares about her people. And she's doing the dang thing. I appreciate it for sure.
She called up in the week. She's got one buyer buying a $1.5 million house.
Really?
Oh yeah, she's.
I need to call her. I didn't get that one. What's up with all these?
Cash offer.
Oh, it's cash.
Yes.
Sheesh.
But it's like Tote, one of our agents. She's the number one agent in Texas, as far as I'm concerned. But basically, all the deals she did last year, only 4 of them were loans.
Oh, okay.
All the others were cash. That's just amazing.
A lot of Californian buyers or something.
No.
Not necessarily.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Some international buyers.
She has a couple of good contacts that do very, very well. But I mean, no, Cecilia Rojas, shout out, doing some good deals. Ferrari Wong's done some great deals. But Cecilia Rojas, I think she'd have a mega year this year.
She's been very, very consistent.
Yeah.
We talk, it seems like it once a day.
Down in the Lake Jackson area, Judy James is doing great. Marilyn Shockley's doing well. Amanda Badawi's doing well. That's in the Lake Jackson area. I mean, last year, when I looked at the numbers for last year, I was very, very surprised.
I was looking at that increase. Sonia Corbin had an increase.
2,600.
It was ridiculous.
2,006. Yeah, well, when the awards come up on February the 11th that we're doing, the in-house awards that we're doing for our agents, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
There's some awards.
We were giving her some kudos last week about that. Like, man, she didn't even realize it, of course. It's like, oh, I didn't. But yeah, she did
an increase
well.
of 2,600% in business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when she said to me, she said she was happy, and I said, well, why didn't you do more business the first year?
Exactly.
All right, boys.
Well, cool. We'll be here same time next week. If you need information about real estate, buying, selling, renting, or joining the team, we got our information down at the bottom in the description. Same goes for mortgage. If you need any help buying or refinancing, reach out to me. Let us know. We'll be here next week, next Wednesday, same time, same channel.
Yeah, and we encourage you all, go get your COVID shot, go wear your masks.
Order the link.
Do what's right.
Maybe we'll get that link available because there's a link now. You can the home test that they're sending out.
Do you know, my wife actually sent it to me yesterday, and I was going to put it on the channel, but I never read my text from my wife.
It's all good. We'll check it out. We'll have it ready for next week.
Yeah, and apparently there's free home.
I think 4 of them, 4 free ones.
So that's pretty cool, and that's the type of thing that
they need to do.
Should be happening.
Yeah, cool.
In all fairness.
All right, good people. We'll see you next week, same time.
Have a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.